Now, Executive Suites with WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi.
Welcome to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nesi. Always glad to have you with us. Later on in the show, we're going to talk to the folks from Tom's BaoBao. They're a pretty prominent restaurant company out of China that's now expanding to Rhode Island. But first, Fred Humphries, a senior executive at Microsoft, recently visited Rhode Island to see the progress of the state's K-12 computer science initiative, which is partly backed by Microsoft. I sat down with Humphries to talk about why the program is important to Microsoft. Here's what he had to say. Fred Humphries, thanks for sitting down with me today.
Thank you, Ted. It's great to be here in Providence.
So let's start off. Easy question. We're sitting down in the fall of 2016. What brings you, a senior Microsoft executive, here to Rhode Island?
Well, first, it's great to be here in Rhode Island. And what brings me here is Governor Raimondo. She's embarked upon a great initiative, CS for Rhode Island, computer science for Rhode Island. And the governor had reached out to Microsoft a while back about saying, hey, I'm embarking upon this initiative that has to do with computer science and computer science training and teaching. And so we at Microsoft have this program, Technology Education and Literacy for Schools, TEALS. And we've entered into a partnership with the state at the request and, quite frankly, as the recruitment from the governor to be a part of this CS for Rhode Island consortium that comprises of the University of Rhode Island, Brown, Code.org, Lead the Way, and it's something that we feel really strongly about, that making sure that schools from K through 12 have the ability to learn computer science. So
you mentioned that, and I know this has been a priority for Microsoft for a number of years now, different places. How does the program Rhode Island's doing, the governor set this goal, get computer science in all the K-12 schools over a period of time? How does that compare with what other places are doing?
Well, actually I'd put Rhode Island at the top of the list, and here's why. Most places you might have it in one school district or a couple of schools. Here for us, at this TEALS program with Microsoft, we're looking to be a part of, with this consortium, all schools in Rhode Island. That, quite frankly, is ambitious, but so far, within a year, and thinking about what they've been doing, really since March, we're in 7 schools. We've been doing this for a little bit since 2011. 7 schools in just March to September. Pretty phenomenal, and I would compliment and applaud the work of the governor and her team on getting this up and going, and particularly the schools, because that's where it's really where the rubber meets the road. Today I was at Central Falls. This is what just energizes me. A very diverse school. 73% of the students are Hispanic, and 11% African American.
City went bankrupt, actually.
Exactly. City Falls with a population of about 30-something thousand within 1 mile aspect. But to see the kids and to talk to them about computer science, and this is their 4th week of doing some coding, and then to be able to talk to them as a person of color, to say, hey, you too can work at a Microsoft or whatever technology company if you focus on computer science. That wouldn't have happened, right? But fortunately, the governor, we usually have to go pitch people on this. Hey, computer science, there's 500,000 jobs out here that are available. Governor Raimondo approached us, and we said, sure, let's look at it. And then convinced us, we don't want you to just do a couple schools, which is our typical model. Yeah. We want to do the state of Rhode Island, and here are the partners. It's exactly how you want it.
Now, the TEALS program you mentioned, it's short for Technology, Education, and Literacy in Schools.
That's correct.
That you brought to Rhode Island as part of this computer science initiative.
That's correct.
It existed already. It's kind of an interesting model, as I understand it. Microsoft's not the only company involved.
Oh.
Other Rhode Island companies, in our case, are contributing volunteers.
Right.
How does that work?
So one, you go recruit, and a Mickey and a Lifespan and some other companies, which is kind of interesting, insurance company helping to find volunteers. They commit to 2 years. Then it's kind of a teach the teacher. It's a team teaching approach where you help to train the teacher, help to teach the teacher to help teach computer science in the classroom. So it's a volunteer effort. And in this case, you get local, local people from companies participating. For the TEALS program, we have 400 companies that are part of it. It's 200 volunteers and
Nationwide, right?
Nationwide, and yes, that's correct. Thank you, Ted. And 30,000 students, and that's just 2011. And we'll look at probably, I can't remember the exact number, but I think maybe another 9 schools that we're going to look to get up and running in Rhode Island, and that's just great opportunity, because what do you need today for any job that you have? You need some type of technology skills. And that's what TEALS is all about, and that's what CS for Rhode Island is all about.
Now, Microsoft isn't a charity, of course, in the end. You're a company. So why, I know you do have a philanthropic arm, which you might be ready to tell me.
Microsoft Philanthropies actually is what helped to.
Yeah, and so, but why is this a priority for Microsoft as a company? You know, why, you guys have to, work on Windows and phones and whatever else you're doing. Why is this something that the company side should be a priority?
Well, one, we have jobs that are open, and we're having sometimes, unfortunately, challenges to filling those jobs. And why? STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. But what you really need is computer science. So we wanted to make the investment here in the U.S. We're a global company, but to make sure that we're getting kids more exposure to computer science. So when you look at this, it's all about filling the workforce needs of the future. And it's just not the Microsofts. You think about what the governor has successfully done. You have GE looking to do the digital piece and expand here, right? What are you going to need? Computer science. What is the governor doing? Making a big investment in education, making a big investment in recruiting companies to be a part of this computer science for all and CS for Rhode Island. Then you look at what this new initiative that I looked into that just sounds really exciting. Open book, technology. I'm just going to say, wow, she's getting it on the whole digital aspect, the technology. But what is that all about? These are the skills that you need for any type of job. And that's not just Microsoft. That might be working at a CVS, which has a presence here, or manufacturing or advanced manufacturing. Having these technology skills is key. So it's really a prerequisite, because of how things have changed, to have some exposure. Everybody may not choose computer science, but you want to make sure they've had the exposure, and from a foundational perspective, I think it's really important to be exposed and have the opportunity to take a class, if it's coding or other aspects of CS, to prepare you to have the digital skills and workforce skills of the future.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, more from Microsoft's Fred Humphries, and later, Tom's BaoBao. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. Later on in the show, we'll be talking to the folks from Tom's BaoBao, a food company that got its start in China and is now making inroads here in the United States, in Rhode Island particularly. But right now, here's more of my recent interview with Microsoft executive Fred Humphries from his visit to Rhode Island. The hope, obviously, whether it's Governor Raimondo or the residents of Rhode Island, is you make these investments now, you beef up how many kids are learning about computer science, and that will pay dividends. It will attract companies like a Microsoft, General Electric. Obviously, people are pleased to see that happening. Do you think it's going to be a differentiator over time? The places that have done this will have an economic development advantage over other places?
Well, let's look at here in Rhode Island, right? I saw that Brookings did this policy report. What's the #1 state in the Northeast when it comes to technology advancement and aspect? It's the state of Rhode Island. And what does that do? That becomes something that's appealing when companies are making decisions. Where am I going to go? And one of the things that we're fortunate in the U.S., we're the leaders of innovations in the world. Now, we're only 5% of the population in the world, but we're the leaders. And if it's from Apple, a Google, a Facebook, a Microsoft, a Snapchat, it could be a Uber, Airbnb, technology companies as well. Twitter, it's there. And where do you see the growth and the talent? It's in this space, and we're going to continue to see that. So, where Brookings talked about, the smallest state that's making one of the greatest advancements is Rhode Island. I am confident, if I had to put my crystal ball, and that's not my thing, but just to say, Rhode Island's coming up with the right recipe to be attractive for companies to want to come here or stay here and continue to grow. But you need the talent and you need the workforce.
What other steps do you need when you look at where around the country Microsoft has put offices? What attracts when you're expanding, when you're opening new places, going locations? What does the company look for?
Well, one, which is what you have in Rhode Island, is part of the consortium and the partnership. You want schools like the University of Rhode Island. You want schools like Brown that you have here. So you have a solid education base. Of course, you're also looking at, things that businesses look at. What is the tax environment like? What is the regulatory environment like? Aspect. And so those are some of the different factors. But one of the key factors is people, human capital, and that's one of the key factors.
So one last question for you.
Absolutely.
I was deciding whether to ask this one, but I'm going to ask you for it.
Go for it.
You've worked at Microsoft, I think, 16 years now?
That's correct.
You were in politics before that.
Absolutely.
Microsoft, sometimes isn't seen as cool as some of its tech brethren.
What are you talking about?
Shocking you, I know.
I wore the suit and tie for you, but it's actually,
right.
If I gave you the real tech look, this would not be how I would look.
That's right, you got the blue jeans. I mean, people think about Apple and Google.
Satya Nadella is a cool guy, our CEO.
So my pitch, you've stayed at Microsoft a number of years. Why are you still passionate about what they do at Microsoft and haven't jumped to one of the other tech companies?
Microsoft is an exciting place. When I just think about from Xbox to HoloLens now, which is augmented reality, to, you might take for granted a Windows 10 Office, but to the power of the cloud. From our wearables, the Microsoft Band, it's a time that's just totally exciting. And now we've just acquired, and we're finishing. It's not been totally completed. LinkedIn, and we acquired Minecraft, and just what we're doing on that with coding. It's just exciting. It's an exciting time. Yes, we've been around a little bit longer, but we're still happening. We still got it going on, and leadership makes a difference. It is exciting times under Satya Nadella and just his vision. I mean, a true hip geek guy who continues to push us. And so I feel fortunate. I mean, I get so excited about what we do with Microsoft Philanthropies for Teals, trying to make a difference and make investments in the community, and the power of technology and solutions that helps to enable people to do more and be more.
All right, Fred Humphries, thanks so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you, Ted. It's been great.
It's been great. When we come back, the leaders of a food company with roots in China that's now in Rhode Island, Tom's BaoBao. Don't go away. You're watching Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi, and now I'm very pleased to be joined by two folks. It's a fascinating company with Rhode Island roots and Chinese roots, and the company is called Tom's BaoBao. And joining me is Tom Tong. He is the founder and CEO, and Rosamond Lu. She is the Chief Operating Officer. Thank you both for being here. And I should say to start that Tom speaks Mandarin Chinese. Rosamond is amazingly fluent in both English and Chinese. So we're going to be doing some translating of questions, and I think it's just terrific. So let's start, Rosamond and Tom, with the basic question: what is bao? How is it made? What's special about it?
Thank you, Ted, for having us. 先第一个问题是什么是包子？它是怎么做的？
包子是中国的一个传统的食物它必须是蒸制另外就是它的熟成的过程必须是由面皮的发酵和它的馅料同时熟成来完成这是一个非常古老而且是很传统的中国手艺。
So I hopefully catch all of that.
Yeah,
but bao,
you have the hardest job on the show today.
Well, thank you. Bao is a very traditional Chinese craft. It has to be steamed, and in the steaming process, the dough and the filling needs to be cooked through at the same time, and the dough is naturally fermented with yeast. It's a leaven product. and it is a very ancient and traditional method of cooking.
Thousands of years, right?
Thousands of years, over 1,200 years.
Wow. Okay. So I'd like to hear from Tom how he got started. He's a great entrepreneur in China. How did he get started in business, and how big is his food business in China now?
想问一下，您是一个很成功的企业家，那你的包子的企业是什么时候开始的？是现在是什么样的规模？
我是在2005年开始做包子，然后但是呢，我真正的商业起步是在2009年的7月份，因为我用了4年多7个月的时间在准备这件事情。
So he started the company, the idea of it started in 2005, but he spent 4 years and 7 months in preparation until the first store was opened in July of 2009.
And how big has it gotten now, his food emporiums?
现在多大了？
我们在中国有160家门店，我们自己拥有的。那么每天我们差不多可以向我们的顾客供应25万个包子。
So we have all direct company-owned store, more than 160 stores, and we make more than 250,000 of bao every day.
Every day?
Yes,
wow.
every day.
So I'm interested in the thinking that brought you to Cambridge and Providence when you decided to try to bring BaoBao to the United States. Why? There's a Harvard Square one, the Providence one coming soon as we tape this. Why did you choose Cambridge and Providence for the American version?
他想问说，你来美国为什么选那个哈佛广场跟普市这边？
我们来到美国以后，发现这边的人非常热爱食物，尤其是像Cambridge 和 Providence，然后因为食物这个包子的来源，它本身也是因为人们热爱食物，然后在它的漫长的时间里面慢慢形成的这种食物工艺。那么我们想在热爱食物的人里面传播这个食物文化是非常合适的。
Yeah. So when he came to visit this area 2 years ago, he find that people here really care about their food. They love food here. So he thinks, you know, this craft of bao was this process was passed down from generation to generation, and the craft perfected in the thousands of years. So because people love food, so it's best to bring this culture here in a community where people really care about food and love what they eat.
And one sign of the love for food here is the existence of Hope and Main, which is a food incubator. I bet a lot of people listening have now heard of Hope and Main. It's out in Warren. And Hope and Main has actually came to your attention and is a big part of how you've put this together, right? Can you talk about your involvement with Hope and Main?
Sure. 他说问一下，他说这个大家对食物的热爱也可以表现在这个 Hope and Main 这个单位那里，因为大家可能很多观众都听说过这个那可以说一下你们是怎么跟 Hope and Main 联系起来？它对我们的那个发展有什么起到了什么作用？
非常棒。我第一次来到美国跟大家说起我是做什么的，我为什么做这件事情的时候，他们说哇，在后面有一个地方跟你一样在做这样的事情，他说你们应该去认识一下。哇，我到了 Hope 没有发现我碰到了Woodman 和 Lisa， 哇，他们都非常热爱食物，然后呢，在帮助很多人在从事食物行业然后从此我们就开始有了交流和连接。
Yeah, so when he came to visit Rhode Island, and people ask him, "What do you do? What are you here for?" And when people hear the story, they always say, "Oh, you have to meet Hope and Main." People there are doing the same thing, helping build community with food. And he went to visit and met Waterman Brown and Lisa, the founder of Hope and Main, and really find that connection for passion for food and helping other folks in the food business.
And you've hired Rhode Islanders, right? To cook. You're not bringing people from China. In fact, sort of the opposite, right?
他说：“那你们还是请了很多罗德岛的人，而不是说从中国带来，是吗？”
对，这是我们做食物做商业的理念。我们认为一个商业 到达一个新的地方，他应该为当地人提供就业，让当地人理解这个食物，尽量采购当地的食材，为当地人服务，这是我们对商业的理解。
Yeah, that's our understanding of business. That's our mission in business is to, when we build a business in the community, we wanted to hire local folks. We wanted to use local supplies. We want to serve the local customers. That way, we can really bring this culture to the community, and it will grow here.
What's the biggest difference between doing business in the U.S. and doing business in China?
在中国跟美国做生意有什么特别大的不同？
在美国做食物这件事情，我发现得到很多帮助。比如说，在美国有 Hope Man， 但是在中国还没有。然后呢，所以它有非常好的那个供应链系统和帮助食物做好的人。对。
The biggest difference is in China, we certainly don't have organizations like a Hope and Main to help us, to connect us with the right people. In fact, a lot of people we hire are through their recommendation. And also in the US, there's very strong supply network. In China, there isn't such a strong supply.
And this is one you can probably do on your own, Rosamond, which is two former gubernatorial candidates, governor candidates, Clay Pell and John Robitaille, both helpful to you, I gather.
Yes, they're both on the board of Hope and May, and especially so John is a proponent for entrepreneurship, and he's very active in that field, and he's very excited when he heard that we are growing here and creating a new business and hiring more local people. So he connected with a lot of resources for us. And Clay speaks both Mandarin and English, so he's visited a company in China.
So you're going to be opening the downtown Providence one. We're taping in the fall of 2016. Any changes to the selection of fillings in the bao that you'll have here?
说一下我们有什么不同的那个包子的口味. Yes, so for the U.S., we created a New England special lobster bao because in Rhode Island, we have such abundance of seafood, and in fact, even the Cambridge ones are sourced. Other lobsters are sourced from Rhode Island.
So, final question, and I'll ask both of you separately.
Yes.
What is your favorite bao? What do you recommend?
My favorite is the vegetarian.
Yeah.
Because it's very delicate flavor and it's very labor intensive. 你喜欢吃
我喜欢吃猪肉包。
He likes the classic juicy pork. It's our bestseller.
That sounds delicious. So thank you, Rosamond Lu and Tong. Rosamond, thank you extra for translating as well. Good luck with the opening of the new company. And thank you for joining us this week on Executive Suite. The folks here are from Tom's BaoBao, and you'll be able to find their food in downtown Providence. In the first half of the show, we were joined by an executive from Microsoft. So if you missed that, you can catch it all on WPRI.com. See you back here next week on Executive Suite.